This song was created with heartbeats of children in need. Find out how it can help frontline health workers bring hope to millions of children at everybeatmatters.org.
1 in 8 Americans is struggling with hunger. Who's the 1 in 8 in your life? You can help. Find your local food bank at feedingamerica.org/1.
I'm Larry Froelich, and you're watching Fayetteville Public Access Television.
Hi, with us tonight is Heather Drain. And Heather, you write about movies.
I do
among
indeed.
other things. And you write, I guess, online.
Yes, I write for a webzine. I've actually been writing for various websites for about 4 years now.
Now, I read your bio today, Heather. I understand that when you were a child,
Yes.
that you didn't like to play with Barbies.
No,
when
I
you were a
did. I
child.
did not. Apparently my mother would find a little trail of Barbie heads. But I don't know. It wasn't a violent thing for me, actually. I was always just more into weirdly creative things. Like, I would draw a lot, or I'd, make little people out of my crayons and put on little shows for myself. Barbies just were too easy.
So, but you had did you have an early love of silent movies?
I did indeed.
Now, when you talk about early love, how old were you?
Oh, geez. I really started getting into films and older films, I'd say, as soon as I could read. My mom always had a lot of film books around the house, and a lot of them, of course, had big pictures. So, of course, I sort of grabbed onto the visual image. And there was always something I really loved about the silent film era in particular, because it's the most visual. All the people are just physically really striking and unique looking, because they had to be back then. I mean, there's no sound, so you have to have things visually the best. And so there's something I just really glommed onto that. It was glamorous and mysterious, I guess, to me in a lot of ways.
Was there a kind of film you were looking at especially?
I've always had that leaning towards, I'd say, horror films especially, just dark cinema. I loved the German expressionist stuff. I still do.
Okay.
It's.
So what silent films especially did you like? Were there any particular stars that you like?
Oh, yes. Clara Bow was absolutely huge hero for me.
Was she the one who always got tied up on the railroad tracks?
No. That was more of the Perils of Pauline pre-20s era. Clara Bow was the it girl. She was the flapper. She was a redhead. I think that kind of helped because I was, a little redheaded kid, and there's not a lot of redheaded heroes that just aren't horrible, like Annie, or Raggedy Ann or something god awful like that.
Right.
But like Clara Bow, I mean, she was so vivacious and just she had a great sort of spunk and beauty to her that I really just adored as a kid.
What about comedies?
Comedies, as much as I'd love to tell you that my early love of comedies was something really respectable, like Dinner at 8. It was, I think, Revenge of the Nerds. When I was a little kid, I tended to go probably for the more puerile, which I probably still do to an extent. I have a love of bad taste, so. But yeah, I mean, I do love a lot of the Chaplin and, Harold Lloyd and Buster Keaton, of course. That stuff's great. And, of course, Roberto Benigni, like some of the newer guys are great too. But, yeah, John Waters is probably my favorite.
so you have what you described as a self-education when it comes to film. What do you mean by that?
I read intensely for years because I'm one of those people, and I always, just if I have an interest in something, I just glom onto it. I become obsessed with it almost. I want to read and know everything about it, and I think you tend to have that intensity at most when you're a kid.
Yeah.
And I certainly did. I read every film book in our library. You know, I reread.
Yeah.
I would reread them. Just especially the ones that piqued my interest, like the silent film ones, cult film, foreign film, just anything that sort of was maybe a little bit left of center.
Did your parents have a movie camera?
No, we never had enough money.
No. So you never did you ever get to experiment with playing anybody's movie camera?
No, I'd fantasized about it a lot, but I never did. We just never had the access to it.
What kind of movie do you think you would have made?
At that age, oh geez, it probably would have been just some insane, excessive rock and roll horror musical expressionist drama. And actually, I probably would still make that now. I'm not sure how much that's changed, but.
But do you find yourself now, though, in 2000, in the 21st century,
Yes.
particularly drawn to horror films?
Oh yes, absolutely. I think partially because horror film is it's the stepbrother, it's the stepchild of genres. There have been absolutely the most beautifully made movies I've seen that are in that genre that will never get the respect that they're due because of that. You know, and I think it's easier to make a drama and have people acclaim it. Anybody can make a film about, look, it's a kid with cancer, and we'll make that. And everybody's, it's wonderful, and you can make the most, technically, emotionally made film with lots of vision that happens to be, a horror movie, and it's treated like it's almost pornography. That's how much respect they tend to get. So
aren't horror films almost like westerns, though? I mean, in the sense that everything that can be made in the horror genre has been made? Or every approach that can be used has been used? Well,
I'd say yes and no to that. To an extent, yes. And I think right now there is kind of a stopping point at this point with the genre because too many people are trying to imitate, I think, the weaker elements. But I think
what are the weaker elements?
They're drawing I think that a lot of people are drawing their influences from the wrong movies, and that's completely my opinion. But like Friday the 13th, Scream, that stuff. I mean, they have their moments, but that is by far not the best of the genre at all. It's more average, I'd say, than anything.
Yeah.
And really, for stuff to be new and to continue to thrive, you need vision with your influences. Nothing is original anymore. I don't think in any genre. I mean, dramas have been done to death. You want to talk about, a genre that's been milked of every sort of tragedy, and situation. But with, but it's like anything else. If you have somebody with an original vision, with the right influences, you can make some great stuff. I mean, look at, You take an artist who might love George Romero, but instead of trying to copycat that, they put their own spin to it.
Right.
And I mean, there's always hope.
But there's so many copycats of George Romero.
Oh yeah.
It's like in video, you have this term called generation loss, which each generation is a little bit worse.
Like when you dupe something.
Right.
Yeah.
So it seems each version seems to be worse than one before. Mm-hmm. Now, today I was reading one of your reviews of a man called, is his name Jean Rollin?
Oh, Jean Rollin, yeah, great filmmaker.
Now, he made a movie called, Lips of Blood?
Yeah, that's I would try to pronounce the French title, but I'll butcher it. So
can you tell us a little bit about Lips of Blood?
Oh, yeah, Lips of Blood. That's actually one of the first films I reviewed for Cult Cuts, which is a magazine I currently write for, and it's amazing because it really, a lot of people, before I'd seen it, kind of wrote it off as sort of like a piece of exploitation. But it's a really beautifully made film with a lot of sadness. I mean, because you're dealing with a vampire myth, but, it really captures just the melancholy and sadness. I mean, you think if they're that kind of fantastic creature, life isn't going to be glamorous. It's going to be really isolated and bloody, and not in the fun kind of way either. And it's funny because there's a lot of nudity in it, but possibly because he's European, it's not really approached in a.
Isn't that almost required in a European vampire movie?
I think so. Actually, I think there is like a contract. Vampires, European. Got to at least have some toplessness, if not full frontal. And yeah, it has both. But it's approached really artistically and not exploitive at all, which is interesting because Roland later on, I think, did go into pornography.
Really?
To survive. I mean, you know, a lot of the experimental filmmakers in Europe ended up going that route just to pay the bills, because at that point it was sort of a weird point in Europe. If you weren't making just respectable films, you know, you were in that sort of gray area of art and trash. You ended up having to go completely to the trash side of things.
So is Lips of Blood available if anybody wants to find it?
The copy I had was from a European label. I had an import from Redemption.
Yeah.
I think Redemption did release a domestic version of it, and I'm sure you could find it on Amazon.com or a place like that.
So what else has he done, do you think?
Oh, geez. He did a film called, I want to say the Two Orphan, something like Deux Orphans. I'm trying, I can remember the French title sometimes, so it's like Two Orphans. Lips of Blood's always one that stands out in my mind.
What's it about?
Lips of Blood?
No, what's Two Orphans?
I know the story involves two girls, these two orphans that become lost. It's almost like a fairy tale approach. They get lost along the way and end up in the cemetery, I believe. I haven't seen it, but they end up in the clutches of a vampire. And there's I know in Roland's film, from what I've read, the twin motif pops up a lot. So
what is there about vampires that is so appealing to people in horror films, do you think?
Vampires are the most human of monsters. I mean, not just physically in form, but also there's something very sexual, I think, about vampires that people tend to really respond well to. Of course, it's an easy creature to romanticize, partially maybe because of the loneliness aspect, because of the sexual aspect of it. And it's kind of, I don't know, I think it's kind of sad, though, because the vampire mythos originally, they were complete monsters. Right. Even Dracula, the original Stoker novel, there's nothing, sexy or romantic about Dracula, the character. He's a beast. But and probably a symbol for VD at that point. Yeah. In Victoria era England. But they're the most human, I guess, to answer your question.
Do you think there's going to be anything? So, is there anything new under the sun that could be made in terms of horror films?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, the potential, with art in general, is always going to be there. You're always going to have somebody, who's excited, who's got a lot of ideas, who, has enough combination of drive and vision and good luck to get something good made. I mean, every decade people say, there's no hope, and then you'll have a groundbreaker come through. And, and I'm the first one usually to be like, man, I like the older stuff better. But I think there's always hope.
What makes a great horror film?
Oh, geez.
At the Heather Drain house on a Saturday afternoon.
Geez.
What makes a great horror film?
A great horror film, definitely, you have to have huge emphasis on atmosphere, on visuals. And it doesn't really matter as far as gore goes. I mean, you could have a really gory film that's beautifully made. Anything by Lucio Fulci, especially The Beyond. A lot of Romero's stuff is fairly gory, but it's beautifully done. So definitely atmosphere, visuals. Having characters that aren't completely brain dead probably helps. Those can be entertaining too. I like both. I like my art and I like my trash. Yeah. So. But definitely that. I think music's really underlooked. I think a lot of people do not, realize the importance of sound and music in a good horror film. And the ones that are usually remembered are the ones that have great soundtracks.
So if you were, on English radio, they said they would like, if you had to go on a desert island, which are your picks for records you would take or books you would take? Mm-hmm. What are the horror movies you would take with you to a desert island?
Oh, definitely. Speaking of Romero, speaking of the devil, his film Martin, which is probably one of his most underlooked films, which is sad because it's one of his best. But Martin for sure, Day of the Dead, The Beyond, Argento's Tenebrae and Suspiria. Definitely. Return to the Living Dead. Great movie. Oh, man, there's so many. It's like Nosferatu, both versions, both the Herzog and Murnau version. Cabinet of Dr. Caligari. God, I hate this because I know I'm just going to forget like a bunch, and afterwards I'm just going to oh, jeepers. Yeah, how could I forget that? There's so many. Zombie. Man. There's so many. I mean, it's funny because people don't realize how many great horror films there really are. You know.
Who's the best Dracula?
The best Dracula.
Who's the best Dracula?
Oh, jeez. You know, at heart, I'm a Lugosi girl. I'm gonna have to say Bella. But there's been so many great. I mean, I love Christopher Lee. I mean, the presence alone. I mean, geez, unrivaled.
If you're gonna more than anybody.
Yeah, no kidding. Yeah. But yeah, Lugosi by far. Not the most accurate, but by far the most memorable and most charismatic.
Yeah. If someone were to like put you in solitary confinement for the rest of your life, and as a way of punishing you, what would be the worst horror films they could inflict on you?
Oh God, I'd say that's a tie between Troll 2 and the Amityville Horror remake. That was, oh my God, that was the most insipid piece of crap.
Really? Was it? I haven't watched it yet.
It's all, well, the first Amityville movie was not that great, in my opinion.
You know.
So I was hoping maybe, remakes should improve upon
right.
the source, one would hope. Not in this case. I mean, it was just every cliche you can imagine, explored unimaginatively, and of course they, it's weird because the story is based on like a whole family that have been murdered there, but they only tend to focus on like a little girl because, you know, what's more upsetting than a dead little girl? But it's so obvious that it's not upsetting, it's just ridiculous. It's horrible. Catwoman was a better movie than that. I mean, oof. And that's not a compliment to Catwoman. I'm definitely not saying that was a great movie at all. It's not, but geez, it's just, people need to stop remaking movies.
So what was the other movie besides
Troll 2?
Troll, that shows up on the Sci-Fi Channel a lot, I think.
There you go.
Isn't Jennifer Aniston in all those movies?
She's in Leprechaun.
Okay.
She's in the first Leprechaun movie. Troll 2, though, man, they kill the creatures with bologna. That's a weapon.
Many parents have tried to kill their kids with bologna.
Yeah, many of us are bologna survivors.
That's right.
I think.
Bologna and Spam.
Yeah. Ooh. Yeah. People wonder I don't eat meat now.
There's some truth to that. You know. So what? Iris, what are the elements that make a bad horror movie?
Just non-energy. I think a lot of people, especially in Hollywood, just make a film, you know, by the numbers, and there's no excitement, there's no love, there's no vision. Just a bunch of like, you know, just idiots kind of running around going, hey, this will make a lot of money, let's throw this in. Yeah, a dead little girl, that's great, let's go with it, let's remake this. And when people have no love or no energy for something, it shows. And that's why I can handle, I've reviewed movies that probably weren't technically the best, but there was a love or a vision there. Yeah. And that makes it worthwhile. So definitely no vision.
Do you think there's like a cynicism with some of the bad horror movies?
Oh, definitely. There's a lot of condescension because a lot of people think what makes a bad movie is budget. I'm not of that belief at all. I think people are real quick. Like Ed Wood's a great example. Ed Wood was not the worst director in the world. I think that honor should go to probably somebody like Joel Schumacher or Michael Bay or somebody like that.
And they get huge budgets to work.
They get huge budgets to make crap. It's it's like you can't polish a turd, people. But Ed Wood wasn't that bad. I mean, some of it is pretty laughable, but it's entertaining. I mean, what's the purpose of a movie?
Right. Even if it's unintentionally entertaining.
True. That's very true. But I mean, it's so weird that people are so there's a weird class system, I think, with movies. The bigger budget, of course, it's going to be a better movie.
No. Otherwise, Buck Rogers will still be around.
Yeah.
Tell me about writing for online magazines. Mm-hmm. How did you get involved with that?
That was kind of an accident. There was a movie message board, B-movie message board I was posting at fairly regularly, and one of the guys there suggested to me, he's like, man, you know a lot about movies, and you said you're a writer. Have you ever thought about combining the two? And I was like, no. And he's like, well, I've got a zine, write something for me. And I did. I reviewed a movie called Crawl Space with Klaus Kinski. Actually, add that to my list. That's a desert island movie by far. Excellent, underrated movie, And I reviewed that, and he published it in a zine. But that was a print zine. But that actually ended up leading to webzine stuff. There was another guy who had a site at the time called Trash Compactor, which I don't think...
Trash Compactor?
Yeah, I don't think they do review stuff anymore, but I did a few for him. And then it all kind of leads to other things, like Keith, the guy that published me, in Exploitation Journal, which had Crawl Space. He said, I know these guys that they have a website, they have a web scene, they're looking for writers. You should totally send something to them, And I wrote them, gave them some samples of my writing. I got really lucky because they loved it. And the rest is history. That's how I ended up writing for those guys, for Cold Cuts. So
how long have you been doing that?
For Cold Cuts, probably about almost 2 years now. In general, like I said, I think about 4 off and on. I've been doing film writing, so.
So, haven't you also done some writing on spaghetti westerns?
I did. I did an article for Cinephere about why I think spaghetti westerns are superior to their American counterparts.
Now, some of our audience may not understand what a spaghetti western is.
Oh yeah, a spaghetti western is basically a western made in Italy or Spain or anywhere in Europe, and the spaghetti westerns tend to be a little more gritty. Oddly enough, they tend to be a little more realistic, which is weird.
Like The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly? Or...
Yeah, Sergio Leone. One of my favorites is one called The Great Silence.
Never seen that one.
It's excellent. You should pick it up. It is out on DVD, so. But it's excellent. It's got Klaus Kinski, who I've mentioned. He's one of my favorite actors, and he's an excellent actor. And you should pick it up. Anybody finds it, pick it up.
So what makes them better? What makes them, in terms of grittiness?
The Italians in general, as far as what I've seen in their film, they're not afraid. They don't flinch away from an unhappy ending, from a situation where there's no true heroes. They definitely don't shy away from blood.
Yeah.
And that's right there. I mean, because you think of it, the real Wild West was not probably all that glamorous. Was not all that heroic. People are out there trying to survive. You might have somebody who's a hero just because they're not as evil, as the other guy. And I like that. I like that grittier approach. Plus, the Italians have a little more flair, too. They always put more emphasis on their music, on their visuals, on their camera angles, on their actors. So it's on their titles.
Sergio Leone did a lot of music for the Italian westerns, I think.
Yeah, he usually had a guy named Ennio Morricone. I'm probably mispronouncing the crap out of his name.
Right, I would mispronounce it too.
And I mean, he's one of the best composers. I mean, that music. Everybody knows the Good, the Bad, and the Ugly theme. But all of his work is great, and they used a lot of great guys. Bruno Nicolai was another great composer that they tend to use.
Does anybody still make spaghetti westerns?
The last one I'd heard of that was, I guess, truly European was one made by a guy named, I think his name's Alex de la Iglesias. He's a Spanish director, and I cannot remember the name of it. I know it had Iggy Pop in it, which is kind of weird, but I think, but as far as I know, no, the Western genre, I think at this point, is kind of on life support.
Yeah,
which is too bad.
If it wasn't for Robert Duvall,
there
would be no westerns being made.
I know, what a great rugged actor.
Yeah,
I love Duvall.
But other than him, I mean, it really.
Yeah, which is weird. I mean, the Western genre, has a lot of great potential to it too. But people, I don't know, just, I think, Hollywood doesn't see any money in it, and. I think most people now think Westerns, they think of like Hallmark miniseries or something awful.
We stretch a 2-hour movie into 6 hours.
Yeah. It's like, oh, no. Condense.
Yeah. Other than Westerns and horror films, what other films are you drawn to or do you enjoy?
Definitely, I mean, my specialty is B-movies, but, any film that's got an interesting approach to it, I'm interested in. It could be a foreign film, a documentary, a comedy, a drama, a sci-fi, if it's interesting and interestingly made, I'll give it a chance, absolutely.
What have you given a chance to that you won't give a chance to again?
Hollywood remakes? No, I don't know, that's hard for me to say. I mean, I hate it. I mean, I probably shouldn't be such an elitist because there is, a good movie's a good movie no matter what budget it is, and there's actually
a bad movie's a bad movie.
Exactly. I mean, there's great low budget movies. There's absolutely horrible low budget movies. Troll 2. But so I don't know. I mean, I like to think that I'm not that close-minded. If something's interesting, I'll try and give it a chance no matter what. The only thing I won't give a chance is just something that just seems completely uninspired and banal.
Like a remake of High Noon. There's no, I saw that one. There was There was now one question that everybody will want to know about is your novel, The Atomic Rose.
Oh, geez, yes, my book's currently in production, if we want to use film lingo. Yeah, The Atomic Rose is it's my road trip story. I've always sort of fascinated by the fact that road trips, particularly in the desert, you see beauty and you see a lot of darkness. I mean, you open yourself up to so much predatory stuff when you go on a road trip, when you leave the comfort zone of your hometown. And the desert in particular, because the desert's so beautiful, but it's, there's so much death, And maybe that's just me romanticizing it too, but it's basically my road trip story about a brother and sister that explore the underbelly of the desert unwittingly, and I hope everybody likes it whenever it gets done.
So how far is it, do you think, from being done?
It's I'm a few chapters away. It'll probably be another year or so, realistically. Yeah, just because there's other pots on the stove cooking as well. But it will be done soon enough, and I'm looking forward to that.
Now, is there anything you're currently writing?
Yeah, actually, I'm almost finished a review of a movie called Funny Man, which is a mid-90s British movie with Christopher Lee in it. I was about to start a short story, actually, set in a carnival, and it may be a collaborative effort with Miss Shannon Kane. So we'll see how that turns out. I've also been working on a poem, which is weird. I haven't done poetry in a long time, but I started a little fragment today, actually.
Who's an underrated actor, do you think, or who are underrated actors, do you think?
Oh, geez, there's a lot. Well, definitely Kinski, I would say. It's funny because a lot of film writers kind of remark, because he could do extreme characters so well, but he was a master of subtlety as well as extremes. He could do everything. I mean, the man, was a pure presence on film. You see him once, you don't forget him.
Right.
Definitely Kinski. I think Brad Dourif is another underrated actor. Because now everybody's like, oh, he's the voice of Chucky, but he can do. He's a phenomenal actor. Yeah. Man, there's just so many. Bill Paxton, which is funny because he's a successful actor, but he tends to be given stuff like Twister or something goofy. But watch a film like Near Dark and another desert island movie that I forgot earlier. Watch that and you'll see what a great actor. Lance Henriksen. Susan Tyrell.
Lance Henriksen seems to, I don't know if he has a bad agent or what, but he just seems to make a lot of trash, doesn't he?
I know, and he's a great actor. I mean, to me, he's almost like a throwback to sort of those great, sort of rugged, like masculine actors, almost, I wouldn't say Steve McQueen, but kind of in that vein.
Yeah.
And why isn't he given more?
It just makes you wonder if people have bad agents or...
Who is he ticked off? In Hollywood.
Somebody somewhere.
Definitely. John Saxon, I think, is another really underrated actor.
I think when you look at the Sci-Fi Channel on the weekend and you see people's names show up on a regular basis on Saturday afternoon movies, I think their careers really hit the skids.
Yeah. Though, no kidding. God, Troll 2. But, Clu Gulager, I think, is definitely... And it's weird because he's actually kind of a local actor.
He's from Oklahoma.
Yeah.
Is he still alive?
Yeah, he is indeed.
He used to be on the Virginian.
Yeah, that's one of the things. He was in Return of the Living Dead. He's a phenomenal artist, though. I mean, he's a great. He could be in the worst film ever, but he's amazing.
He's got a great voice.
He's got a great voice. He's got a great presence. I actually read a really good article on him. He's a filmmaker as well, and he lived in Tulsa for a while with his family. They're trying to make this movie, the serial killer movie, and
he's part Cherokee Indian, I think.
Yeah, he is, and but just amazing. Just after you read interviews with him, and he's one of those kind of dying breed guys where he'll stick to his guns even if it's not to his benefit. But I really admire artists like that, Even if it's like a self-destructive almost, at least at the end of the day, they can look themselves in the mirror and know that they've been true.
So you're going to end up with so many movies on this desert island that you're probably going to have a lot of company, aren't you?
Oh yeah, definitely. I could open up a little rental star on my desert island and have sailors and pirates come by.
So you're just not going to get bored, are you? You're not going to be tired for company,
Oh, never.
So,
no boredom here.
Well, anyway, Heather, I want to thank you very much for being on the show tonight.
Oh, well, thank you. It was my pleasure.
And I want to thank you all for watching tonight. So good night, Fayetteville. Whatever movies you're watching tonight, as long as it's not Troll 2.
Yes.
So, good night.
Good night.
Hi, I'm Larry King, and with me tonight is Heather Drain, and we're going to discuss the Joan Benet Ramsey case. I couldn't help myself. Sorry. It's just...
I did it. No, wait, no. It wasn't that nude at all. It was me.
Okay. Oh. Okay, let's do it for real.
I'm Larry Froelich, and you're watching Fayetteville Public Access Television.
This song was created with heartbeats of children in need. Find out how it can help frontline health workers bring hope to millions of children at everybeatmatters.org.
1 in 8 Americans is struggling with hunger. Who's the 1 in 8 in your life? You can help. Find your local food bank at feedingamerica.org/1.
She's home watching. Now this song could be sung as a general sense, or it could be sung in a specific sense.
Okay.
I sing it in the specific.
Okay.
Lovely lady, haven't seen her in a long, long time. You know she's always on my mind. Sure would like to see her again today. If she only knew how much I need her when she's not around. My soul aches while my heart waits like a lost child waits to be found. And in my mind I see her, she's everything I wanted to be. And the only thing she cares about doing is taking good care of me. Lovely lady, haven't seen her in a long, long time. You know she's always on my mind. Sure would like to see her again today. Such a lovely lady. If I could be with her just once more, I would love her like never before. We would have one another for a while. I never know where she's coming from. It doesn't matter where she's been. All I know is when I'm in her arms, the world seems nice again. She doesn't always look the same, and she has a lot of different names. But I always seem to know her when I see her, and it's loving time again. Lovely lady, if I could be with her just once more, I would love her like never before. And we would have one another for a while. Such a lovely lady. If I could just see her again, maybe it wouldn't have to end. And I wouldn't be here wishing like I am now for my lovely lady. I haven't seen her in a long, long time. You know she's always on my mind. Sure would like to see her again today. Sure would like to see her again.
Correcticus was just passing by. Now the ladies of the harem of the court of King Correcticus was just passing by. Now the ladies of the harem of the court of King Correcticus was just passing by. Now the ladies of the harem of the court of King Correcticus was just passing by. Now the noses on the faces of the ladies of the harem of the court of King Correcticus was just passing by. Now the noses on the faces of the ladies of the harem of the court of King Correcticus was just passing by. Now the noses on the faces of the ladies of the harem of the court of King Correcticus was just passing by. Now the noses on the faces of the ladies of the harem of the court of King Correcticus was just passing by. Now the boys who put the powder on the noses of the faces of the ladies of the harem of the court of King Correcticus was just passing by. Now the boys who put the powder on the noses of the faces of the ladies of the harem of the court of King Correcticus was just passing by. Now the boys who put the powder on the noses of the faces of the ladies of the harem of the court of King Correcticus was just passing by. Now the boys who put the powder on the noses of the ladies of the harem of the court of King Correcticus was just passing by. Now the fascinating witches with the scintillating stitches in the breeches of the boys who put the powder on the noses of the faces of the ladies of the harem of the court of King Correcticus was just passing by. Now the fascinating witch who puts the scintillating stitches in the breeches of the boys who put the powder on the noses of the faces of the ladies of the harem of the court of King Correcticus was just passing by. Now the fascinating witches put the scintillating stitches in the breeches of the boys who put the powder on the noses of the faces of the ladies of the harem of the court of King Correcticus was just passing by. Now the fascinating witches put the scintillating stitches in the breeches of the boys who put the powder on the noses of the faces of the ladies of the harem of the court of King Correcticus was just passing by. Now if you want to take a picture of the fascinating witches with the scintillating stitches in the breeches of the boys who put the powder on the noses of the faces of the ladies of the harem of the court of King Correcticus, you're too late.
Why?
Because they just passed by.
The name of this story is The Crock of Gold. When London Bridge was lined with shops and salmon swam under the arches, there lived at Swaffham in Norfolk a poor peddler. Now he'd much ado to make his living, traveling about each day with his pack at his back and his black dog at his heels. And it turned out that each night he was tired, and right glad he was to lay down and sleep. One night, as he was sleeping, he had a dream. He dreamt that if he would travel 100 miles to London town, he would hear joyous news. But he made little count of the dream. The next morning when he awoke, although he heard every single bit of it and remembered it all, still he went about and thought little of it, as he sold his wares and called his dog to his heels. But on the second night, when he slept, again he had the same dream, and on the second morning when he awoke, it was alive to him. And that day, as he went about with his pack at his back and his black dog at his heels, he thought about the dream. He found himself thinking, if I would travel that 100 miles to London town, I would hear joyous news. But again, he merely worked. And again, he slept at night. And again, that third night, he had the same dream. And on the third morning, when he awoke with that dream fresh in his mind, he thought to himself, I must needs try the issue of it. And that day, he filled his pack with food. He left his wares at home and left his black dog at home with his family too, and started off to London. Long was the way, that 100 miles from Swaffham in Norfolk all the way to London. And right glad he was, after that long, weary walk, to see the shops and spires of London in the distance. When he got to London town, eagerly he walked up and down the bridge, looking into the face of each passerby, waiting and hoping for the joyous news. But all that day, naught did he see and naught did he hear. On the second day of his time in London town, again he walked up and down the bridge, and again he looked into all the people's faces, waiting and hoping for the joyous news. But again, on the second day, he heard nothing. On the third day of his time in London, he was just standing, leaning against the bridge, no longer waiting and hoping and looking for the news, but just standing with his head down, when a shopkeeper hard by spoke to him. "Man," he said, "I've been watching you these 3 days, and I'm curious about your business here. Do you have wares to sell?" "No," said the peddler, I didn't bring them with me to London." "Well, do you beg for alms?" "No," said the peddler, "not while I can keep myself." "Well, then what is it, man?" asked the shopkeeper. "What is it with your walking up and down the bridge and stopping and staring into all the people's faces?" "Well, I had a dream. I dreamt that if I would come to London town, I would hear joyous news." Ah, right heartily did that shopkeeper laugh. He said, "Man, pay attention to a wiser man than yourself, for I too dream o' nights, and for the last 3 nights I've had a dream. I have dreamt that if I would travel to Swaffham in Norfolk, a place clean unknown to me, and if I'd go to the peddler's house in that town and go behind his house and dig under the biggest oak tree in his orchard, I would find prodigious treasure. But do I pay attention to my dreams? No. Did I travel that 100 weary miles for nothing? Nay, so go home, man, and ignore your dreams." When the peddler heard this, he was exceeding glad in himself, but he merely thanked the shopkeeper politely and walked away. And it was only when he was out of sight of that shopkeeper that he began to run. He traveled so quickly that 100 miles back to Swaffham in Norfolk and went directly behind his house to the biggest oak tree in his orchard and started to dig. He called to his wife and his children. Even the black dog helped dig. And soon they had uncovered an oaken chest. And when they opened that chest and looked inside, they found prodigious treasure. Now, the man did not forget his duty in the pride of his riches, and he helped with part of his money to build up the church at Swaffham in Norfolk. And after he died, the people of the town put up a statue in front of the church of the peddler with his pack at his back and his black dog at his heels. And therein it stands to this day, to witness if I lie.
It's one of my favorite shows.
Really?
Yeah,
Mine
Sesame
too.
Street.
Mine too.
We all live in a capital I, in the middle of the desert, in the center of the sky. And all day long we polish on the eye to make it clean and snappy so it brightens up the sky. Rubbing it here and scrubbing it there, polishing the eye so high in the air. As we work, we sing a lively tune. It is great to be so happy on a busy afternoon. And when we're through with the day's only chore, we go back inside the eye and we shut the door. Capital I, capital I, capital I, capital I. In a lonely and far place, there stood a lowercase inn. Lonely and cold, she was there up into space, and she would cry every now and then. The lowercase n, standing on a hill. The wind is very still for the lowercase n. Then one day a rocket ship came racing from the sky. It landed on the hill and it opened up the door, and something started moving from inside. It was a lowercase n. She is not lonely anymore. There are two on the hill where there was just one before. The wind is very still for the lowercase n. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, and the ladybugs came to the ladybug picnic. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, and the other came at the ladybug picnic. They had 12 sacks, so they ran sack races, and it fell on the backs, and it fell on the faces. The ladybug 12 at the ladybug picnic. They played jump rope, but the rope it broke, so they just sat around telling knock-knock jokes. Ladybug 12 at the ladybug picnic. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, and they chatted away at the ladybug picnic. They talked about the high price of furniture, rugs, and fire insurance for ladybugs. Ladybug 12 at the ladybug picnic. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 10 tiny turtles on the telephone talk to the grocery men. We would like 10 lettuce. Would you send us 10 heads, please? 10 sweet potatoes and 10 rutabagas with the dimples on their knees. We'd like 10 cans of black-eyed peas to give you good strong muscle. 10 of those tasty sprouts, the ones that they call Brussels. 10 leafy collard greens, and please make sure they're white. Brighten our lives, brighten our eyes with 10 banana squash. We'd like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 artichokes. 10 eggplants, over easy. Well, that's one of our little jokes. Please send us 10 mangoes. They're the favorite of our sister Gert. And one last thing, please do include 10 apples for dessert. 10.
What? That was fun. Do you think they should extend these lights?
What's wrong, hon?
I cut my finger.
I have the perfect answer for that. I'll play you a song. That'll make it better. There's a scratch on my finger from the cat. I was only petting it, who'd have thought it'd do that? It doesn't feel good, there's a sliver of wood from the bench in the park where I sat. So I think I'll need a Band-Aid, maybe 3 or 4, 5 or 6 or more, and a bottle of that spray stuff you just got at the store. Some sticky tape, a roll of gauze, and if you'll be so kind, a washcloth and a piece of ice, but not the iodine. No iodine. There's a bump on my head from the wall. I hit it when I was playing with the beach ball. I was climbing a tree when I fell and skinned my knee. It hurt, but I didn't cry at all. But I think I'll need a Band-Aid, maybe 3 or 4, 5 or 6 or more, and a bottle of that spray stuff you just got at the store. Some sticky tape, a roll of gauze, and if you'll be so kind, a washcloth and a piece of ice, but not the iodine. No iodine. There's a hole in the sleeve of my shirt. On my arm there's a scrape and some dirt. My friends are very sad, but I said it's not too bad. As a matter of fact, it doesn't even hurt yet. But I think I'll need a Band-Aid, maybe 3 or 4, 5 or 6 or more. A bottle of that spray stuff you just get at the store. Some sticky tape, a roll of gauze, and if you'll be so kind, a washcloth and a piece of ice, but not the iodine. I think I'll need a Band-Aid, maybe 3 or 4, 5 or 6 or more, and a bottle of that spray stuff you just get at the store. Some sticky tape, a roll of gauze, and if you'll be so kind, a washcloth and a piece of ice, but not the iodine. Now I feel fine. Feel better?
Yep, all better.
I was just thinking about writing you a letter, let you know what's going on. There hasn't been much work and I've lost a little weight, but I'm gonna keep on keeping on. I met a lot of really nice people, there's still quite a few of them left around. I'm not getting very rich, but I'm getting real happy, so I'm writing every word of this town. And when I'm through, I'm sending it to you in a very, very special song. It might make a day just a little bit brighter, and you might want to sing along. Singing nine, 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 nine. The ones I love, they miss me. You know I miss them too. But I play guitar in a traveling band, 'cause that's what I wanted to do. And though this song, it may sound sad, it's not really sad at all. 'Cause things are going to get a whole lot better, but I thought I'd put it on. A new day's gonna be coming my way, it's gonna be coming soon. But until it does, I'll just keep smiling and I keep on singing this tune. Singing nine, 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 nine. Nine, 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 nine. Nine, 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 nine. Nine, 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 nine. And when you're down and you're feeling blue, 'cause everything's going wrong, think about me and remember what I told you. I'll keep on singing this song. Singing nine, 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 nine. 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 Nine, 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 nine. Do, 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 Mama pajama rolled out of bed and she ran to the police station. When the papa found out, he began to shout and it started the investigation. It was against the law. It was against the law. What your mama saw, it was against the law. Mama looked down and spit on the ground every time my name gets mentioned. And the papa said, boy, if I get that boy, I'm gonna stick him in the house of detention.
Well, I'm on my way. I don't know where I'm going. I'm on my way. I'm taking my time, but I don't know where. Goodbye, Rosie, the queen of Corona. See me and Julio down by the schoolyard. See me and Julio down by the schoolyard. Whoa, in a couple of days they come and take me away and I press that story. And when the radical priests come and give me release, we've all on the cover of Newsweek. Well, I'm on my way. I don't know where I'm going. I'm on my way. I'm taking my time, but I don't know where. Goodbye, Rosie, the queen of Corona. See me and Julio down by the schoolyard. 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 Whoa, in a couple of days they come and take me away and press that story. And when the radical priests come and give me release, it's all on the cover of Newsweek. Well, I'm on my way. I don't know where I'm going. I'm on my way. I'm taking my time, but I don't know where. Goodbye, Rosie, the queen of Corona. See me and Julio down by the schoolyard. 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 See me and Julio down by the schoolyard.
I'm Larry Froelich, and you're watching Fayetteville Public Access Television.
This song was created with heartbeats of children in need. Find out how it can help frontline health workers bring hope to millions of children at everybeatmatters.org.
1 in 8 Americans is struggling with hunger. Who's the 1 in 8 in your life? You can help. Find your local food bank at feedingamerica.org/1